before we go live.
Right. Oh, dang.
Now,
Well, now we got even more time because, I mean, we're live right now, but I forgot to show our pages and stuff. But, I'll just do that later. But, anyways, guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Uplift Past Crossroads. You're probably watching the playback of this video on Justin's YouTube channel, Chaplain's Log. Thanks for tuning in. Right, here goes all my social media pages. I got the best social media pages ever. Make sure to follow, like, comment, share, subscribe. You know what to do. You know the drill. We got a treat for you guys today. So, as you guys know, I'm trying to be a preacher. And in order to be a preacher, you have to get your ordination license or whatever you want to call it in a denomination. So I decided to do it in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, so the AME Church, if you ever heard of it. And it's the process of just becoming a pastor. It's like 6 years of classwork of just learning the discipline. Yeah, learn the discipline, the doctrine, the administration stuff
you
you have to
working
do.
hard for that too. I feel like you guys don't see it, but like every time before a video, we'll talk about his progress. But he's got to set up sermonettes and like fix up studies, and as along with like staying active on social media. You guys need to be appreciative having a video out every week from this man. He's busy.
Right. Yeah. So as you guys know, just like Justin said, it's a lot of work. So like, but then what makes it worse too is like when some of the teachers, they try to haze students and they feel
Their
like
teachers may be watching now.
maybe, yeah, and then they feel like they have like because of the position they're in, they're better than us because they already went through the process. Like they know way more than we could ever know, and so they belittle you. They treat you less than. And so love isn't there. So like that's what I've been going through in board examiners in the past 2 years. But it's been getting better. Like there's been a lot of people in the faculty and the leaders and the powers that be in the ME church is like, nah, we can't be treating students this way. That's why we barely got any preachers coming in because of the stuff that we put them through. It doesn't make no sense. So one question I got for everybody too, I titled this video having a condemning, critical, harsh, and judgmental spirit. Having a critical, judgmental, condemning, and harsh spirit. And so the text we're really coming from, and we'll be talking about, and I want you guys to think about when we do our Romans 8 Bible studies and stuff like that, and you hear sermons that I do on Romans 8, and anytime Justin does a video or something on Romans 8, I want you guys to think about this verse, right? So the scripture verse is Romans 8, verse 1. It says, therefore, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And that's the New International Version Bible, right? So it says, therefore, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And so I showed this chart last video. I'm going to show it again. So each and every single day you get a choice. You can choose condemnation. You can choose to live in the flesh, or you can choose to live in the spirit. You can choose to do things the way that God intended for you to do it. You can choose to be obedient to his will, to his word, to everything that he says. You can choose to live life like God has called all of us to live it, right? So you can choose death, you can choose curses, you can choose hatred, you can choose resentment, you can choose anger, you can choose hostility, or you can choose happiness, joy, mercy, grace, forgiveness, humility. It keeps on going, right? So the choice is up to you, right? And so that leads to a question I got for everybody. One of my questions is, are you operating from a condemned place? So are you operating in a place of bitterness, depression, shame, worry, anxiety, misery, grudges? Are you operating in that place complaining, whining, right? Or are you operating in a place of that Jesus wants you to operate in, that God wants you to operate in, right? So are you operating from a place of hurt, bitterness, resentment, anger, in a place of condemnation? And then my second question is, have you healed from what hurt you, or have you been bleeding on others? So one thing I didn't get to say during my sermonette I did on Saturday, which by the way, I actually posted on my YouTube channel, Uplift Past Crossroads. All right. I posted, so if you go to my YouTube channel, Uplift Past Crossroads, I finally edited that sermonette I was talking about. Here it is right here. The title of the video is Let It Go and Pick Up What Jesus Died on the Cross for You For. So let it go and pick up what Jesus died on the cross for you for, right? So in that sermonette, I talked about, I didn't really get to say everything I really wanted to say, which was good. Like literally God just talked through me because I only had 10 minutes to talk. but only talked like 7 minutes and 40 seconds because I didn't know my time. So I just wanted to, end it. So, and God told me to end it. So, like, one of my points I really want to say to you guys is, hurt people hurt people. So we are only feeling judged by others because of the condemning thoughts we're playing in our heads. So a lot of times we live in a place of condemnation and we're condemning ourselves based
Mm.
on what's in our head and what's playing in our minds. Like one person asked this question on Twitter, and yeah, this is a good introduction. I should have started off the video like this, Justin. But yeah, they asked me this question. I mentioned it last video we did together, me and Justin. I tweeted this on July 21st, 2023. I said, let go of condemnation so you can live free. And this person tweeted, I want to, but how? How? Right? And there's 4 ways of how you know you're living in condemnation and how you can get out of it. Right? And there's 4 ways to know that you're being held hostage and living in a way that's contrary to what God wants for you to be experiencing. And you can be free from that if you just choose to obey and choose Jesus instead of your hurt, your worry, instead of bitterness and all that stuff. So the 4 ways of living in condemnation is this. So one way is you think about the past a lot. Second way is you can't seem to forgive others or forgive yourself. The
Mm.
third way you know you're living in condemnation is you have a judgmental and critical spirit. And then the fourth way is you feel unworthy, right? So let's go back to operating from a hurt place. So are you operating from a place of condemnation? Are you operating from a place of bitterness, resentment, anger, hatred, you name it, right? So don't let your hurt other people.
Mm.
And your hurt will bleed. You'll bleed on other people, right? If you never heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you, right? We tend to bleed on people when we don't heal from our traumas, from our bad experiences, from the bad programming we've been taught, whatever you want to call it, guys. So, like, if we, as Christians and as believers, we got to be better than the people that hurt us. We got to be better than the bad experiences that we face. We gotta what's it called? Be above that. It's called something. We always say it, be a bigger person, be a bigger man. We got to get past that, right? So don't let your hurt other people. I mean, don't let your hurt other people. Because Jesus didn't do that. We're called to operate like Jesus did. Like Jesus, I'm pretty sure he wanted to get back against the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the high priests, even the disciples. He wanted to get back with a lot of people. But did he hurt the people? Did he hurt the people that hurt him? No. He chose love. He chose grace. He chose forgiveness. He chose peace. He chose tranquility. He chose love. And that's what we got to do as believers. That's the call of the Christian life. And we miss out on experiencing the good things that God wants to do when we don't do that. So if you suffered in life and you want other people to suffer as you did because you turned out fine, you did not, in fact, turn out fine. And that's not the way of a true Christian and a true believer, right? So that's something I want to say during the sermonette, but that's too personal, right? Because even preachers who've been preaching for 50, 60, 80 years, especially, I feel like the longer you've been preaching, the more stuff you're going to go through, right? The more hurt you'll experience. And so because you've been hurt so much and you turned out fine, you think it's okay to make other people suffer and go through the same crap that you went through. And that's what I've been going through, right? In the AME church in the 13th district. And I think, and I pray it changes because we got to be better than that. The most important thing is showing love. But Justin, I'll let you go. I'm done, man.
Yeah. And I watched a little bit of the sermonette too. Like I definitely want to finish the rest of this after this video. But I do like the approach with all these questions because it's like Jesus preached so much about like he wants an internal change before an external change. And it's like we've been rewatching the series Chosen with my mother-in-law, and then she's gotten into it a little bit. And it's like watching the Pharisees. It's uh, you see parallels of that today, like with the I can't say much about the AME church because like I don't know anything about them, but it's like very similar to like what Sean is saying. Like you're just like people seek like their comfort zones, whether it's like traditions or rituals or just like doing things the way that you think they're supposed to. It's all performance based, which our culture is very heavy on being performance based on like how well you do something or what your status is. And it's like, oh gosh, I know in the U.S. it's pretty bad, but it's worse in like Japan and South Korea, where suicide rates are through the roof over there, because like you have the stigma of like succeeding at a certain level. But it's but like Jesus doesn't call us to do that. He was very aware. He wasn't here to like enforce the law or anything like that. He was here to fulfill the law, but not under our own merit, because like we have no way to fulfill the law under our own strength. That's why we needed Jesus. But again, I like these questions because they're making us look inward. Like it's that's I feel like that's just been my journey for the past couple of years, is like having an inward journey, because it's you can't take care of anyone else until you take care of yourself. And it's like, if you imagine like your temple as like different rooms, different houses, you'll how you treat people, how you love one another is affected by like the wounds or the hurt that you have, or what you fill your rooms with. So I feel like I do like what Shawnee was saying, and I can't wait to get into this topic of like, hurt people do hurt people. Like how we treat other people is how we might have treated people. Like our sins usually come from a place of hurt. Our critical spirit usually comes from like a place of hurt. And it's not until we identify like why we feel the way that we do will we ourselves be healed and then be able to help heal others.
Yeah. Yeah. So before I go to those 4 ways to know that you're living in condemnation. So that person asked me, I want to be free from condemnation. I want to let it go. I want to live in freedom. But how? So, guys, that's the question. Are you experiencing God's peace? Are you experiencing tranquility? Or are you experiencing God's love? Or are you just enraged with hatred? Like enraged with just anxiety, like overwhelmed with worry. Like that's not the way God called you to live. Like you got to stop damning yourself. You got to stop condemning yourself. Let me talk about the definition of the word condemn, just in case anybody's confused. Because we live in a global world now, so I got people listening from different countries and stuff. So just in case you don't know what the word condemnation means, right? This is the definition of it. It says the expression of a very strong disapproval, right? It's just look at some of the synonyms. So you got criticism, right? You got damnation, you got disapproval, you got reproof, and then the opposite antonym of the word condemnation is praise, approval, right? So another definition, the action of condemning someone to punishment, a life sentence. We just talked about 4 ways to know you're living in condemnation, right? And the focus for this video out of those 4 ways is having a critical, condemning, harsh, and judgmental spirit. So does that say who you are? Do you have a critical and judgmental spirit? Are you always judging others? Because I'm gonna tell you something, guys. When you live contrary to when you live contrary to the way that God wants us to live, you don't receive from God the things that He wants you to have because you're not choosing it. Each and every single day, you get a choice, like we start off the video talking about. You get a choice. And Jesus even said it in Matthew chapter 11 at the very end. He says, "Come unto me, all you who are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Life's already hard enough. In this world, you will have many troubles. In this world, you will have tribulation. That's John chapter 16, verse 33. But do not fear, for I have overcome the world. He says something like that. So, like, Jesus is with us in the midst of our troubles. We can suffer with Him, have His peace and have His joy, have His happiness, have everything that He has to offer in the midst of our pain and our hurt that we go through in this life. We can choose Him every single day and choose the gifts that He has for us, receive those things, or we can receive what's contrary to it. And that's the thing, guys. When you're disobedient to God, you're disobedient to His way and His will, you do not get to experience Jesus. And that means if you're saved, that's this life, right? In this life, even if you choose Jesus, like you give your life to Him, you're saved, right? You can still, if you're disobedient, and you choose to live in anger, live with grudges, live with bitterness, there's consequences for that, right? So just having a judgmental, critical, harsh, and condemning spirit towards others, that says a lot about you, right?
Mm.
So, Justin, man, I'll let you go, man. 'Cause I'm talking a lot. I want to make sure.
Yeah. No, I like where you're heading with that. I hope I don't break the flow. But yeah, if you're showing a critical spirit towards somebody else, it usually means you're projecting on something. A lot
Mm,
of times it might mean that you're too critical on yourself. Like you feel like you're not good enough. And and like, man, we've all been there. Like, no shame in that. But like, that just means that you are like, you're taking the book of the law, you're taking the Bible the wrong way that God intends you to. Like if you look at Jesus's ministry, he didn't wait for people to like follow the law to the letter. If not, he would have been like friends with the Pharisees right off the bat. But no, he made friends with the sinners because he knew though he was the doctor and those were his patients. He knew that only sick people needed healing. And it's like so if you have like if you're critical towards yourself, like that means you just need to like dive into yourself and like really really change like make a change in yourself before you what's that Michael Jackson song? um it's like the man in the mirror. You gotta like before you change the world you gotta change yourself. That's not what he says, but I need to look that up. But it's like you always start with yourself before you do that. And it's like if you're it's just a good indication. And like Sean and I had before COVID and we had like life group and like Bible studies together. I remember we were talking about if you are critical towards anyone about anything, that means you're kind of projecting about that as well. If you are upset that someone is like always losing stuff, that means you're critical about yourself when you lose stuff as well. Or your parents were critical on you when you lost stuff. So then you're projecting that on other people. It's crazy because like the more you try to be, and this is like more towards parenting styles that I found out, the more you try to be less of your parent, the more you actually become your parent too.
oh man.
Yeah, yeah, Sean, you should be worried. You're talking about your dad. You're gonna be your next dad without realizing it. But it's man, it's so true. It's like so that's why Jesus didn't have any problems. If anything, Jesus should have been like the only overly critical person in the world because he was a sinless man, but he wasn't. That's why he demonstrated grace because he was leading by example. We've also have to show a tender heart. That's what it means to be Christ-like, is to like have a tender heart and to show grace because that's really how people can change. I'm gonna move into like I feel like this is a little off topic, but I just find it interesting. They did this study, of course, where it's like if they had these two groups where they were, if they let one group make mistakes without losing points, they did better. But then if the other group, where every time they messed up, they took away their points, they got more nervous and they would like mess up more and they actually did worse. And I think that that explains like a lot. And that if you're critical of someone, are you being critical of someone because you really want to help them succeed or you're just venting out anger at them? Like a lot of times like again parenting, like are you punishing your kid because you're disciplining them out of love because you want to correct them? Or are you just lashing out in anger because you're like, how dare this like disobedient child um show me up? But no, there's like it's a big difference. There's always, it's weird. You can do like the same action but with the wrong intention. Like you can guide someone with love. Like again, like love and grace are everything. Uh there's a psalm, I forgot. I need to look that up later. But there's a psalm where if like even if you spoke words of truth but you had no love, like you're just like the clashing and banging of cymbals. Like you're just noise. Same thing with like if we're trying to correct people out there. Um if you're like trying to criticize someone but without love, like they're not going to take it in as much. If anything, you're eliciting more shame on people. And we know what like shame does to a person. That we did this like a couple of videos ago. Like it puts us in a place that's not on the same wavelength of God. Like Jesus did not come here to shame us. He came to save us and draw us in, to pull us closer. It's like we go back to that first slide that Sean showed in his sermonette. Like Jesus was trying to show all the positive traits in order to draw us in. Like that's what's driving people away from Christianity. I think is like, oh, thanks, man. That's what's driving people away from Christianity is we think we know the truth, which we do know the truth. I'll give us that, but we do it in such a way that it's so critical that you're only left to believe that you have to be perfect to succeed. And like no one's perfect. So everyone thinks they fail. Or they think Christians are like hotheads or like these brimstone and fire condemnness. And like that's not what Jesus was preaching about. Anyway, I'll stop right there, Sean. I'll give it back to you right now.
Man, you just did the whole video, man. I just let you keep on going.
That's why I'm now, so we have a turn.
I'm so happy that you went because I was about to hit all that. So I'm just happy you got it all out. Well, I was gonna do one by one because you literally hit everywhere I was gonna go.
Man, yeah, man, I feel like I've barely touched the surface. We need to dig.
Yeah,
Yeah, do one by. We can still dig a lot from this.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go where you just went. All right, so I'm gonna. Well, I gotta pick one because you went 4 different ways. All right, so I'm gonna pick being critical towards people. So I'm gonna ask everybody a question: are you using condemnation to lead people to Christ, or are you using grace, mercy, and love to lead people to Christ? Right? I'm gonna ask it again. Are you using condemnation, so bitterness, hatred, fire and brimstone, like you better do this or God's not gonna love you? Are you using that to lead people to Christ? Judgment, being critical, harsh. Are you using that to lead people to Christ, or are you using grace, mercy, forgiveness, love? What is love? Justin just tore that up. Like before I even said anything, using one of these things is highly effective. The other one doesn't do anything. Right? It doesn't do anything at all. And which one does most people use as Christians? And Justin even said it in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Me and Justin have done a lot of videos on 1 Corinthians 13. On 1 Corinthians, we'll go back to it because we just needed a break, I guess, and do other stuff. But like with 1 Corinthians 13, guys, like it talks about what love is. I'm gonna read a different Bible version because that one's the King James version doesn't make any sense if I read that right now.
Yeah,
but
King James it's very fancy. You have to be in the right place to understand it.
Right. Yeah. So like in the New International Version of 1 Corinthians 13, it says love is patient, love is kind. It starts off saying that. Are you gonna reach people being impatient? You're not doing this right. Man, really? You don't never do nothing right that I tell you to do. Like, is that gonna get anybody to? Is that gonna do anything? That's like I said. One's highly effective. One isn't. Love covers wrongs that people do. Just showing love. Well, that's a scripture verse, by the way, guys. Just showing love, man. It's more impactful. It's more everlasting. It's more long lasting. Showing love when you shouldn't show love. When you should, you have a reason to be angry. You have a reason to get back at somebody. You have a reason to be vengeful and to even punch a person in the face. Sometimes you got a reason to do those things. But love keeps no record of wrongs. Love is not easily angered. Love is not self-seeking. Love does not dishonor others. Love is not proud. Love is not selfish. Love does not boast. Love is not jealous. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. Man, love never fails. This is so powerful, guys. This is the Bible, right? Paul even said it. If I speak in tongues of men and of angels, but do not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. If I'm basically Jesus and I'm not a sinner and I just live a perfect life, but I don't show love, That just shows you are a sinner. Like, you don't have love. What is love? God is love. How can you say you're a child of God, but you don't have love? You ain't never forgive somebody who's done you wrong. I mean, you like just to say you never have done it. That would be awful if you've never forgiven anybody. If you never extended grace to somebody, that says a lot about you. Because I'm gonna tell you something. As a child of God, like when God has shown you love and shown you grace that you know you don't deserve, it's gonna be really hard for you not to show somebody else the same grace and the same forgiveness that God has shown you.
Mm.
God gave you a clean slate. When you, especially when you get the bliss of heaven, that's what's really gonna tear everybody up. When we actually get to heaven, and we see how great it was. And it's like what Paul said in Romans chapter 8, verse 18, a few verses down from Romans 8, verse 1, the text we're in today. Like in Romans 8, verse 18, it says, Paul said, I consider what we suffer at this present time, cannot compare at all to the glory that will be revealed to us. Man, when we see what's in heaven, me and Justin talked about it with Revelation chapter 21 and 22, just getting a glimpse of heaven, just seeing a little bit of it, just experiencing a tiny, just a blink of an eye of it. Man, it makes you want to love anybody, no matter what they done to you. They can shoot you 50 times, stab you 150 times, roll over you with a car 80 times. You'd be all right. You'd be like, man, I love you. I forgive you. Just because that's what Jesus did for you and for me on the cross, right? So I'm going to ask everybody again, are you using condemnation to lead people to Christ, or are you using grace, mercy, and love? One's highly effective, the other doesn't do anything. So far too often in the church, we hear about the rules of faith and expectations the follower of Jesus Christ are supposed to fulfill. You know, the rules and expectations that aren't often set by church leaders. The fire and brimstone sermons make believers squirm and may lead to some quick pleas for forgiveness. However, this does not reflect how Jesus communicated or led people to follow him. So Jesus brought hope and healing to the world. He doesn't use shame, guilt, regret, or even accusations to motivate us to do better. Jesus uh, condemnation and condescending jabs have never inspired constructive action and lasting change. So it's really hard for people to hear what you have to say when you're always condemning and criticize, when they're always condemning you and criticizing you. So it's really hard to hear what other people have to say when that's all that they do. So even if it's well intended, right? So when you are critical of someone else, you can't help them. They don't want to be helped by you
Mm.
because they feel like they can't talk to you, right? And there's actually somebody in board exams that was like that for me. Like they were always condescending, always belittle somebody, always made somebody feel less than. Not just me, it was everybody. So nobody wanted to be around her. Nobody wanted anything to do with her. And this is a pastor.
Mm.
That's awful, guys. Like
I
as
wonder
children,
if they're I
yeah, go
wonder
ahead.
if they do that. Yeah. Like we said, every sin kind of comes from a place of hurt. I wonder if they're doing that to like because they themselves don't feel worthy. So they kind of have to put others down as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just speculation. Yeah, I do like that though, because you're right. Like being critical of people, it won't like bring people towards you. Like if you like just the thought of like Jesus showing grace towards us before we earned it should put us in a position as well of showing grace to people that we don't think earn it as well. Like even if we know someone is messed up, like not to say like people don't mess up, like we know people will mess up. It's like would like shaming them bring them any closer, or will shaming them like help them in their situation? No, like Jesus knew that. He knew by shaming people, he was not, I will make a distinction, he was not afraid to point out like some harsh truths that the culture back then were doing. Like even if we read the Bible now, it's not afraid to like point out the harsh truths in today's culture as well. But like there's a clear distinction of him revealing harsh truths and shaming other people. He still revealed like the hard lessons, but he did it with like grace. He tried to pull, as I said, he tried to pull people in. Like every time he healed somebody, he didn't heal them right away. He got to know them. He tried to figure out where their faith was, and then that allowed them to like draw closer to God. It's like he would say, I love hearing like your faith has healed you. It's like Jesus could have just like done his Jesus thing. I wish I had a better word for that. And healed anybody. But no, he didn't. He was more concerned about doing an internal transformation than outward. Yeah, if you yell at someone, if you criticize, yeah, you might be able to fix their outside, but man, you're probably gonna scar them for like life. It's like Yao and I, like something I appreciate about marriage again is like sometimes, not all the time, I don't appreciate it because I don't like digging into the recesses of my mind. But like something I've learned to appreciate is that we do dig into like why do we react the way we do, or why do we have triggers? And I think that's very important to like the process of growing. And but like we kind of realize it's because it comes from a place where people were critical. It comes from like parental figures. I'm sure like with best intentions, parents are still people too, but they make mistakes. But they like made it feel like we weren't loved or weren't enough unless we succeeded at a certain task. But and that's like a big difference between performance based versus the grace based spirit way of teaching that Jesus incorporated. Like they didn't put down everybody that they came across because who's that again? Who's that helping? Is that helping the other person be better, or is that just making yourself feel a little bit better because you're critical of yourself? Oh, I just had it. Yeah, that's just a revelation for me. Like, yeah, you may be critical because you're projecting to other people, but maybe it makes you feel a little bit better too. Like you're bullying people a little bit. Oh, that's okay. I just learned something. But but like, are you pointing out because you're helping them or helping yourself? Like I feel like uh, I feel like that's it's always good to like breathe before like you really lay into someone. Like, are you doing it from like a good place? Like Sean and I were talking about before. We've talked about like the corruption and like the wrongdoings of like church or systematic religion. And like believe me, like I love my church. Um and I love going to it with my wife. But we know like it's a man-made system. Like every church is going to have its problems. Every religious system is going to have like its own hidden agenda whether we realize it or not. So we just have to realize like where is this coming from? Like is this coming from a place of like love and grace, or is this coming from a place of uh, over criticalness, or a place of tradition or religion that doesn't have its place in people's hearts?
Yeah. Well, we having some fun, man. Like, let me. There's so many ways I want to go. Let me say this real quick. So Jesus shields us from negative criticism, and then constructs us with his, which is built in love, mercy, and grace. So when Jesus, if you want to call it condemn, he doesn't condemn anybody. God
Mm,
doesn't condemn his children. Because when you're in Christ Jesus, there's no condemnation now for those who are in Christ Jesus, right? So God doesn't condemn his children,
mm,
right? He convicts. So there's a difference between conviction and condemnation. So you'll never have
mm,
God talk to you like Satan saying, "Oh, you just never gonna get it right." Oh,
mm,
like, "Oh man, you failed again." Oh, like,
mm, mm,
man, you're such a disappointment. Like God doesn't talk like that.
mm,
That's Satan. That's the flesh. That's people. That's not God. So God convicts. He doesn't condemn. Right? That's his love right there. He's always there to pick us back up again. The righteous fall 7 times. Heck, even 8, but they get back up 9, 8 times. Like they get
mm,
back up more than they fall down. Right? And so it says a lot about you being critical, harsh, judgmental toward people. You're saying like you got all the answers, you got it right, you perfect. So I'm just gonna judge. I did that when I first became Christian. I don't know about you, Justin. I just thought about it right before our video, all the day. Like
mm,
God would just give me a flashback. I guess He wanted me to say it. But like when I first became a Christian in 2010, And I used to just go. Well, I didn't first become a Christian. I've been a Christian all my life, but when I dedicated my life and was committed to God and stuff, like, and was trying to seek His face, trying to hear from Him, trying to figure out my purpose, trying to figure out what college He wants me to go to at the age of at the age of 17, like, well, the age of 16 and 17, so year 2010, like, yeah, all that year, just trying to figure out all that, and all during the year. I just judging people, like sizing them up. Like, are you a Christian? How do you live? Like, I want to see your lifestyle. You've been divorced 8 times. Like, I always look at divorces, like for celebrities and stuff on online. Always.
So many.
Yeah. And then like I always, I mean, there's always something to judge in everybody though. Like,
Hmm.
that's one thing I learned as like a
Yep.
mature Christian. Like, you can find holes and imperfections in anybody, flaws. You can find sin in
Mm,
anybody.
that's
You
true.
can find more sin in yourself because you know yourself better than other people though. And that's the thing. A lot of people, they live their whole lives just focusing on everybody else instead of themselves. And that's the point. Like, Justin was gonna reference Matthew 7:1. You should totally do it. It says, do not judge, you know, for the same measure you judge will come back on you. Like, and that's what everybody does. Just critique, judge, and the critical towards everybody. But we judge everybody based on their actions. But we want everybody to judge us based on our intentions, our motives, our heart. When we should be doing the same thing with other people, treat other people the way you want to be treated. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you don't know their intentions, you don't know their motives, you don't know their situation, you don't know what they got going on like God knows. So why are you judging them? Right? And then even half of the time, we don't even know ourselves. We don't even know what's going on with ourselves and why we make certain decisions. Why did we make certain decisions? Right? Only God knows that. So like, just going around being critical towards other people, like, that's way above your pay grade. That's not even, that's inconceivable as a believer. Like, that's not your job, right? That's God's job. So that's something else I was gonna say. Let me just go to it, man. I'm going all over the place. So we are in no position to judge God's lost sheep. They're His lost sheep. They ain't
Mm,
yours, right? Jesus died on the cross for them. You didn't. He paid the price for them. You didn't, right? So don't be in haste to judge and condemn others. After all, Jesus died for them. You did not. What sacrifice did you make for me? Are you gonna judge me? That's a nerve, man. Like, you have no right to judge people for who they are. You're not God. You don't know who they're supposed to be. You don't know their future, their end and the beginning, and their middle, and their. You don't know anything about them. Shoot, another good person. That's a real good example. I mean, some people you can't judge just because they're fruit. There's no fruit. Like, but like, there's a lot of people like we just have no business. I'm not gonna use no examples. You guys get what I'm saying. Like, I'm basically saying you're not God. You're not the judge either. God is the only judge, right? So to determining anyone's level of deservingness and worthiness is not your job. Did you hear me? Like, you're the dictator. You get to decide if somebody's worthy or not. Are you kidding me? I used to think that, Justin. This is hilarious, man. Like, never look down on anyone. Only God can sit that high, and only He sits that high. So, doling out decrees of deservingness and worthiness is way above your pay grade. That's what I was going to say earlier. So, when we condemn others, we are essentially saying that God's judgment is not good enough, and we will stand in His place. Y'all can't tell me, just from me saying that, it sounds ignorant, right? So if it sounds that ignorant and that bad, how do you think it looks to God? What do you think that says to Him? So you live all your life living like that, having a harsh, critical, angry, condemning spirit with all your life. Like, you're not doing good, you're not doing good, I'm doing good. Woo, boy. That's just like what Jesus said, man, with the Sermon on the Mount. It's so profound, Justin, the Sermon on the Mount.
mm,
Now, just with this video, He said, like, you don't go around just looking at people's logs in their eyes and saying, you got a log in your eye, you got a log in your eye. I mean, you got a speck in your eye, you got a speck in your eye, you got a speck in your eye.
mhm.
You got a whole log in yours. You got some nerve to talk about anybody. You need to work on yourself. Judge yourself. That's another question for you guys. Do you judge yourself? Are you as critical on yourself as you are with other people? Or are you more harsh and focus more on other people than you do yourself? And how should you be living as a believer? So this is one way. You're living in condemnation. That person asked me on Twitter, how do I let go of condemnation? I want to. How? How can I live free? This is one way. Stop trying to do God's job. Stop trying to be God, because you're not. I mean, who's without sin? Who can judge? Only God can. Only Jesus can. Who are you? Right? Now, do we have to have discernment? Are we supposed to judge things with righteous judgment? Duh. But that's not going around with your Bible, hit people upside the head. Get it right. Get it right. You get it right. You get it right. You keep on getting it wrong. Like just hitting people upside the head with a Bible. Who are you? Judgment ultimately belongs to God and God alone. So God is the ultimate judge. God is the final judge. On Judgment Day, on everybody's judgment day that's coming, people will stand before him and not us. They will stand before him and him alone. So don't play God. Don't try to be God. Don't try to take his role of judgment. He can take he can take on that role all by himself. He's good all by himself with that. Because he got to judge you too. And that's another thing too, guys. Like we're going around judging people, but the same judgment you judge on others will come back on you. It will haunt you. So how critical you are with judging people, that's how critical God's gonna be with you. I'm gonna wait to go there. Justin, go ahead, man.
Yeah, just like, and like how we let go of our condemnation is exactly as Sean said, like leave it to God. When Adam and Eve, or even Adam, I guess Eve had it first. When Eve and Adam like took the fruit of the tree, like it was the tree, like a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What that symbolizes is that instead of letting God decide what was good and bad, they took on that responsibility, just as we have today. They took on that responsibility of deciding for themselves what was good for them and deciding for themselves what was bad for them. And like that's a lot of pressure. And like look at nowadays, we're in constant debates and discussions on like what's good and what's bad for our society, or what's good and bad for like the economy or our culture or for people. And it's just a ongoing pressure on our shoulders. And it's like, why do we take that onto ourselves? So when I say leaving it to God, it's not a passive thing. It is letting go, it is freeing your spirit, but you actively choose that. Like when you look in the Bible, a lot of a lot of things that we think are verbs, um like the like unconditional love, agape, or like kindness, or seeking God, they're not like passive verbs that the English connotations might say, but they're like active verbs. So when I say leaving it to God, that is actively choosing to let God handle it, but also to lead a life to show that you trust in God by making your actions show, like moving forward, putting yourself out there, using your actions to show that you trust in God's decision on the matter. And that can be very hard. Like that, again, that takes practice. Now, to this person's question of like, how do they let go of their condemnation? It is an ongoing thing. It doesn't happen right away, but it is, as Sean said, you leave those decisions to God. Like we're not the judge. Like Sean was talking about how it's like he was using that in a prospect of how we don't judge other people because that's God's job. That's true, but we also don't judge ourselves because that's also God's job. Like we don't try to take on that responsibility. It's just a lot. Like, have you ever thought about like how much time we spend on like opposite sides of, like, man, look at the American bipartisan system. It's like you have to choose a side. Like that's I I'm not saying the US is like hell on earth or anything, because like but I am saying like the devil probably does use that as a huge way to create a schism even among believers. It's like I wish I had looked up a quote before. I might look it up while Sean is talking. But it's like it's almost a division on like love and truth. We either have to choose one or the other. For some reason, those are mutually exclusive now. We're either on the side where you have to like love everybody, no exception, or we're on the side where we have to like give people the truth, like no exception. But it's not that way. I'll look up the quote by Tim Keller while Sean is talking. But it's like, I don't know why we have to choose sides when like Jesus Jesus is the embodiment of like a perfect balance. Like justice and mercy, I think, is is demonstrated perfectly through Jesus. You would think it's like opposite things. You either like feel the wrath of justice or you feel the freedom of mercy. But no, Jesus was able to accomplish both. He was able to satisfy the justice that God needs to deliver on sin while also showing mercy on like our inability to fulfill the law. So it's a where was I starting with? Oh yeah, just like give that responsibility to God. Like don't put that on yourself. Don't put it on other people for sure. And that's the main point of the video. But like on yourself too. Don't put that on yourself.
Right. And that's another thing too. Man, I'm so happy you said that. That's another point. I wasn't even gonna go there. But like, yeah, that actually relate to the question I had. A question I was gonna ask everybody was, how do you not be critical, judgmental, harsh, and condemning and mean? How do you not have a critical, judgmental, harsh, and condemning spirit towards others when that is all people are to you, right? So how are you not going to be critical, harsh, judgmental, condemning, and have a mean spirit towards others when that is all people are to you? And that's such a deep question to me, man. Like, because that goes to another question I had too, which is not in my notes. It's like I was going to ask it during my sermonette. It was, yeah, how do you forgive somebody who did you wrong, and they don't know that they did you wrong? They don't care that they did you wrong, or they don't moved on with their life, and every time they see you, they just smile on your face, and they don't even know what they did to you. So how do you forgive somebody like that? How do you not have a condemning, critical, harsh, and judgmental spirit towards them? And that's just Christian life, man. We gotta turn the other cheek, like Jesus said. Like we gotta choose love instead of hatred, instead of the pain, instead of the struggle. And that's guys. Are y'all gonna choose Jesus? Are you gonna choose love? Are you gonna choose happiness? Are you gonna choose what God has for you? Or are you gonna keep on holding on to the hurt, holding on to the judgment, holding on to the grudges and the resentment? What are you gonna hold on to? Jesus or to those things? Because that's how you live in condemnation, not holding on to the things that God wants you to hold on to, guys. And like going back to what Justin said, man, like why are you judging people anyways? Why are you
Mm.
critical towards people otherwise? Like that's what I started off my sermonette saying on Saturday in front of the whole board in the AME church in 13th district. I started off saying like, I have a very critical, harsh, and judgmental spirit because I've been hurt in the AME church. Like it's only been 2 years and I've been hurt bad. Like I don't even see the point in doing it sometimes. Like I really didn't want to do it no more. But everybody kept on encouraging me and building me up. Like even in and it well, no, it's funny, Justin. More people built me up and encouraged me than the two people who hurt me. Like, but they just scarred me so bad,
Mm.
right? And so, like Justin was saying, man, I can tell you straight up because I know one of them pretty well, the one that hurt me. Like, they went through a lot in life, and they're just projecting the hurt that they themselves have been accustomed to, and they've been through a lot. And so that's the question, guys. Which one glorifies God more? You operating from a place of hurt, or you operating from a place of love? So you choosing to be patient with somebody who just deserves your impatience and just deserves your unkindness. Like, which one speaks more? You being patient and kind towards people and loving and merciful, or you being harsh, critical, resentful, mad, complaining, whining? Like, one reaches a lot of people, one doesn't do anything. Matter of fact, it hurts you way more by operating that way. So like going back to, God's the only judge, stop judging what you do not know. We don't know people's heart. We don't know their intentions. We don't know the circumstances of someone who might say or do something we find reason to criticize. Like, so we shouldn't judge.
Mm.
We don't have all the facts. And we aren't sure what is in their heart. We don't know them like God knows them. God made them. He died for them. He knows the future. He's Alpha and Omega. You don't know. Shut up. And that's nothing too. Sometimes you just can't judge. You can't judge righteously. You can't judge correctly because you don't know everything. Wow, you know how much you condemn yourself just by going around trying to figure stuff out. Some stuff you're just not gonna know. That's what me and Justin talked about with Revelation chapter 21 and 22. Like in this world order right now compared to heaven, like 80 to 85% of the sea has yet to been discovered. 90 to 95% of space has yet to been discovered. Did you guys hear me? Like, I'm not even gonna say anything else. Just with that, guys, that just says that there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of darkness in this life. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of things we don't know, right? That's this world order. You think that's gonna change? That one day we're gonna be at 1%, like only 1% of space has yet to been discovered? Heck no, not in this world. Like we're gonna find a cure for every disease. You think they want to find a cure? The evil powers that be, the principalities, the evildoers of this world, you think they want you to be healed? Are you kidding me? Like, sure, you think the rich want to? You think everybody gonna be get justice? Everybody gonna be free? Everybody gonna be rich one day? Everybody gonna be treated righteously and holy and fairly? Stop. There's no money in that. They only care about the money. You don't play with the money. That's this world order, man. But as believers, we gotta choose love despite of what they do. It don't matter what they do, right? We're still called to operate in Jesus, not in condemnation. So I'm gonna ask you guys again, how are you operating, right? Just stop me if you got something to say, man, because I'm about to go somewhere else. But you got anything else you want to add, or you good?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I kind of want to see where you're going, but I found the quote by. Hold on. I found the quote by Tim Keller. It's where love without truth is sentimentality. It supports and affirms us, but keeps us in denial about our flaws. Truth without love is harshness. It gives us information, but in such a way that we cannot really hear it. I love that last part about truth. It puts in a way that we can't really hear it. And like I don't want to like I feel like I see that a lot in Christian versus non-Christian circles. Like the Christians, and I'm going to try to stay on topic as well because I don't want to disrupt the flow. But yeah, Christians, I feel like they condemn people because for whatever reason, the Bible is powerful. Like that reminds me of the movie Book of Eli. I forgot who the main actor for that was. Like,
Denzel Washington? Is that what you're
was it?
talking about?
Yeah, it was Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
Like they were after the book, and you don't know what the book is until like the last 5 minutes. But it was like all these cults and all these governments or civilizations wanted that book because they knew it had the power to change people. And it's not until the end where you see like it's the Bible, and like Denzel Washington had memorized the Bible and like wrote it down even after the book is lost. But it's like the words and the information we have from that are powerful, but the problem with that is it can miss, like for whatever reason we think we now have that power, which like God does give us like the spirit of power in times of need, but it's not our own. For whatever reason we think we can misuse that for our own agendas. And like that's what I'm thinking about when I see this quote by Tim Keller. Truth is put in such a way that people can't receive it. You can't do that without love. But at the same time, in today's culture, you see where like everyone is like pushing the concept of love, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like godless love. So you know how like God is love? People nowadays make their own idea where like their love is their God. Like their concept of love is the utmost importance. And unfortunately has no truth behind it. So we're letting people do whatever they want without like identifying the flaws in that, or like not questioning, as Paul put in Philippians, just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
So that's all I want to say right now. I kind of want to see like where you're headed to.
yeah, man, I'm gonna go just where we've been at. First of all, I'm frozen really bad. Am I frozen on your end, or is it
A
just on
little
the
bit.
live? Okay, I'm trying
Like
to.
your sound is not freezing, but your occasionally your video does.
This is awful, guys. I'm sorry. Like, I just have too much stuff open, so
Mm.
hopefully that helped with me closing some stuff. But yeah, just I remember you saying that quote, man. I remember you. You texted it to me. Or did you Google that to look for it, or did you go through the text message?
I think you liked it on my Facebook page.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did post it. So yeah, this was the quote. I want to talk about that a little bit. Like, did you say everything you want to say with that? Because remember, I told you I was confused by this quote a little bit. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, you can start and then I'll add on to it. I didn't
yes.
realize your slides though. That's awesome.
No, I did. I just put it on it because it was on your text. You texted it to me when we first read the devotional. I think you said that you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew
Oh,
I put it on Facebook. I didn't realize I must have really liked it then if I sent it to you.
yeah, we should totally do a quote of the day on this. Like, it's probably deeper than what we're about to cover. But like it says, love without truth is sentimentality. I don't know what sentimentality is, guys. But
It's sentimentality is like a empathy towards someone.
mm, empathy, man. Wow. It supports and affirms us, but keeps us in denial about our flaws. Boy, that's like social justice. You know, some
It
people,
is kind of like this, yeah.
yeah, some people think that.
Because like, man, like I feel like a lot of social justice warriors, I put that in air quotes, social justice warriors are they have sometimes they have a good point. Like they're doing it out of love, like because they want to take care of other people.
Yeah,
But it's like sometimes it's just like so misguided, or they'll do anything they can, even if it means putting other people down, which is ironic. Or like I've said this before as well, like the Black Lives Matter movement. It like we needed like a Black Lives Matter movement with like the abuse and the death and like the institutional racism that was going on. But then the leaders behind that, they took and ran off with the money, and that's another example of like a man-made institution, like we were talking with the church. It's like a very much needed what's the word I'm looking for, like movement or um, idea, but it's like backed up by people, so it's gonna be messed up.
right.
And I think that's what that quote of love is saying, is like the the sentimentality or like the feeling behind it is it comes from a good place, but it's just like going about it in the wrong way.
Yeah, it doesn't really face the issues.
Right.
It keeps you in it. It's just like, yeah, yeah, nice. You're not. It goes through one ear and then out the other. Like,
Or it goes too far where we're expected to tolerate everything. Like if someone has a new view or a new sexuality, like we're supposed to accept that no matter like if it's kind of wrong. And it's like it's almost it's pushed like some uncomfortable subjects too. Like if a man like lusts, like falls in love, or lust, we all know it's lust, it's not love. If they lust after like a 12-year-old or something, like we instinctively know that's a wrong. But with our motto of tolerate everything, like that's kind of the direction it's going towards.
right.
It's like we just, to quote Jurassic Park, we were so concerned about doing what we can that we didn't ask ourselves if we should.
Mm, yeah, Jurassic
Sorry,
Park. Yeah.
I felt like I hit like a lot of uncomfortable topics in like in 10 seconds.
Nah, I didn't know we were gonna go there. But
Yeah, sorry, man. I feel like we should. I feel like that's not the direction of the video.
yeah, I'll stop because I mean that's actually another video we just got to do. All right, so that just helps us for next time. But yeah, let's just keep on going, man. All right, so guys, like I was saying, in the Bible in Matthew chapter 7 verse 1. Let me pull it up just to make sure I'm saying that verse right. Like, make sure I say everything. But it says, "Do not judge, or you will be judged." That's all it says,
Mm.
right? And then it says this in the next verse. This is Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. So this is one of his. This probably, arguably, this is what people say. This is the best message ever preached, the best sermon ever preached. So yeah, Matthew chapter 7 verse 2. It says, "Do not judge. Do not judge others, or you'll be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. In the measure you use, it will be measured back to you." This verse is so dope and so powerful. So the whole point of this video is talking about ways that to know that you're living in condemnation. So, guys, do you feel like you're damned? Do you feel like you have nobody's approval? Do you feel as if you're not approved? Like you're you're you got a light you're in your sentence to that. You got a life sentence to your past, to the people who hurt you, to being critical and harsh and judgmental to people because you've been hurt. You think you have a right to hurt other people, right? Because you turned out fine, right? So, two questions I got for you guys. How do you know you're living in condemnation? And how do you know you're not living in condemnation? So, hopefully, you can answer that based on everything we talked about in the video. But just like I was saying, guys, are you going around having a critical, harsh, judgmental, and condemning spirit? Because what kind of measure does God use? How will you be judged on your judgment day? This is how you'll be judged. God doesn't have a measure. He uses the measure you use, right? So the Lord says he will also judge with the same judgment we use to judge others, right? So is God really the one that's judging us? No. He's judging the way you judge. So is God really condemning us? No. He uses the measure you condemn others with. So do you have a judgmental, harsh, critical, and condemning spirit? You shouldn't if you don't want to be judged that way on your judgment day. Because again, for in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured unto you. Matthew chapter 7, verse 2 in the New International Version Bible. That's one of the promises of God, right? So when you sow judgment, you'll reap judgment, leading to more condemnation. This is one way you know you're living in condemnation. This is not the place that God intended for you to be, right? The extent that you judge others will reflect into the judgment that you receive. And what you judge is your own food of consumption, your own food of thought. Be careful what you judge, it becomes your reality. And the judgment is a being critical, being harsh and judgmental is a confession of your own character. Just like Justin said at the very beginning of the video. You're only showing where you're at. Your perception of others is a mirror of the shadows you carry, right? And if we judge ourselves in the right way, God will not judge us. He won't condemn us. If we judge and condemn, well, we don't need to condemn ourselves, but if we judge ourselves the right way. See, that's the point of this life, guys. We're all trying to be more like Jesus. Nobody is righteous. No, not one. Only Jesus is righteous. That's Romans chapter 3, verse 23. You see, we accept all the Bible, guys, as a believer. We don't just, pick one verse. This is the Bible. No. We accept all of it, right? All of us are sinners. So never judge others because they sin differently than you. So this sin is greater than this one. We so focused on homosexualities, transgenders. We ain't so focused on tattoos no more, right? But we ain't focused on having a harsh, critical, judgmental, rude, and mean, and condemning spirit. It is just as bad, if not worse, right? Judgment is in God's hands. We are called to love. So if you don't show love, what does that say about you? You're not one of his children. That's another scripture verse, right? His children love. Our job isn't to judge people. Our job is simply to love people. Let God do the judging. We're not here to judge. We're here to love. Let God do the judging and you do the loving. So have you been doing the loving, guys? This is the life in the mark of a Christian. We're called to be the salt and light of the world. There's nothing that shines brighter in this world than love. You want me to use some examples, Justin? Let's use some examples. So, tell them about a time where somebody showed love and the message was just given. Like, is what I'm saying? Like, guys, I know you guys can think of some because love just stays with you. You never forget it. I want to say something real personal, but I'm not going to say that one.
I will say, yeah, this one's not too personal for me, but I will say, like with international students, Like especially like seeing the like East Asian and Chinese students, like that's how they receive the gospel, is like when people treat them well.
Hmm.
It's like it's interesting because Asian culture and like Indian culture and like even like they're they're expected to host well, to treat everyone well. But it's almost like not, it takes a long time of them to like actually show a deep friendship or relationship with someone that they barely know. It takes them a long time. But like something I've heard from them of how they receive Christ is because they were, not because of like all the Bible verses that they're taught, but because like the people teaching them like opened up their homes and showed them love or showed them how deep relationships can actually go. And like for them that's foreign. And I find that amazing because it exemplifies what Jesus does. He built relationships with people. That's how you connect to people's hearts. You do it one heart at a time. You don't try to do like a mass conversion or mass evangelism in a crowd. Like sometimes that happens and that's awesome. But like most conversions happen on a heart to heart basis.
Yeah, I'll say my example without being too specific. I got away from my I'm away from my dad and mom passed away to say that, but
Oh, oh
but
man.
but the way I came to Christ is because He showed His love that was shown to me all my life through my family. Out of all my family, I was the black sheep. Out of all my family, I was the
Mm,
worst of the worst, like out of my siblings. So, like, I mean, my dad, he said later on that none of us were that bad, but I mean, out of my siblings, I was the worst one. So, like, yeah, when, long story short, on my Damascus road, like Paul, but basically God blinded me. Like, and then he blinded me so much that like literally I blacked out and I'm just in the throne room. So I just
mm,
see a wheel turning and I'm like in a place and I can feel his presence. Right. So it's like I was like in the Ark of the Covenant where the Ark of the Covenant was. And, and I'm in his presence. So like obviously I can't talk, I can't move, I can't do anything. I'm just on my knees. And I just feel shame. I feel guilt. I feel a conviction. That's what I felt, right?
mm,
Because I wasn't measuring up to this presence I was in, right? And so God literally just talked to me. It was like, Sean, you know, you haven't been fulfilling a purpose that I, intended for you on this earth. So I'm gonna show you everything I've been doing in your life since you've been born that you haven't been paying attention to. You think I've forsaken you. You think I've forgotten about you. You think I don't love you. You think because I ain't let you drink, you're a virgin. You just figured out what weed was. You didn't even know sex existed till you were, in college. like
mm,
well, I still, like I was like sheltered, right? So I was just mad at God for just sheltering me, hiding all this stuff from me. Like I'm suffering, I'm having a bad day, and I can just get high and my day could be better. I can have sex, I can get drunk and be happy. And he was like, I shielded it. I shielded those things from you for a reason.
mm,
And yeah, basically he used my grandfather, my grandmother, so my good mommy and my good daddy, my dad's parents. And then he used my dad, my mom, and my siblings as examples of how he showed love to me all my life. Like just basically one major way through all of them. Like how he was there through each and every single one of our relationships. So when he got to my after he got done with my older brother and he was about to go to John and Ashley, I said, okay, I had enough. I got it. He said, no, no, you don't got it. I'm going to go there. You need to hear this. And so afterwards, I just committed my life to God and everything. But like, yeah, I asked everybody a question like, tell me a time where love brought you to God. Love showed the love of God to you. Love was the answer. Like,
mm.
and that's how you reach people, guys, through love. Like, and there's a lot of examples. You can ask anybody. Like, I guarantee how you came to Christ was because of love. Like, that's what I should have asked Justin. Like, was it love that brought you to God, brought you
Mm.
to Christ? Because that's what it is, guys. It's love. That's how you reach the world through love. Love is always the answer. Love is the way. Why? Because love is the only gift that will last for all eternity. That's what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and chapter 13. Love is the greater gift. You know, prophecy will fail. Or prophecy will cease. You know, knowledge. You're like, yeah, there'll be knowledge in heaven and stuff. Like, that's nice. But it's not like love. Like, you know,
Mm.
like doing miracles. Why would you need miracles done in heaven when you everything's already, you know, miracles are natural. Like, and there's no pain, no suffering, no disease, no sickness. Like, you know, miracles, what? There's no miracles there. Everything's a miracle at that point. Like, so like the only thing that will be in heaven is love. That's it. So love is the gift that lasts forever, man. Love is what echoes for all eternity. Love is what is the way to store up treasures in heaven. Love, guys. So have
Mm.
you been loving others, or have you been living in condemnation? Man, Maya is hilarious. Do you see that message?
Oh no. Okay.
Have you watched Mandalorian yet?
I watch bits and pieces.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
the way. Okay, yeah, everyone knows that.
yeah,
It
this is
is
the
the
way.
way. That's right, Maya.
This is the way.
This is. You know the way. This is the way.
Yeah, that's my fiance, guys. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and end this video, man. So, like, one scripture verse I want to leave with you guys is this one, man. It's Luke 16, verse 37. It says, "Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiving." That is so powerful, guys. Like I
Mm.
was saying, the same measure you judge will come back on you. Compassion is better than condemnation. Love is the best gift you can give to anybody. So being critical of others instead of showing compassion, instead of showing love, always comes back to haunt you, right? Your judgment always comes back on you. Your judgments. Let me say that again. Your judgments. So your being criticals, like, are always coming back on you. It says where you're at. It's showing your state, where you are in your relationship with God. Because again, everything in life is just showing ways we can become more like Christ. So if you're
Mm.
going around being critical and harsh and judgmental, you're living in condemnation. That's not the life that Jesus had for you. True love is the life that he called that true love is what Jesus died for. Like my sermonette title for, you know, my sermonette I did in front of the board examiners was, you know, let it go and pick up what Jesus died on the cross for you for. So
Mm.
Jesus died for you to receive his peace, his love, his happiness, his joy, his peace. Every single day, guys, like Justin said at the beginning of the video, it is a choice you have to make
Mm.
every single day. You can choose to remember the past hurt, to be mad about what they did to you, to be mad and have regret about what you did, you know, the people you didn't sleep with that you had the opportunity to sleep with. Like, you can be mad about it, man, I should have did it. Or that's being condemned, guys. Or you could just be content, be satisfied that you're still alive. Be thankful. Oh my gosh, Justin, that's something else I was going to say. Be thankful. Justin, go ahead, man. I know you got something. Then I'm gonna look for that thankful quote.
Yeah, it's like I have two things. I'm trying to think which one I want to approach with. But yeah, it's like just recognize just the ability to recognize what God has done for you as well. Like his grace. Like it's I'm gonna go back to like no, actually I want to go a different direction because of what you said. Like the Sean was saying, like God judges us the way that we judge as well. I think that's super important because before this we were Sean and I were talking. He was talking about a verse in Luke. I think there's a similar one in Matthew. It says, "Do not judge, or you will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged." So if you're, and again, like when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees, my favorite insult of all time. I said this like videos ago is like you whitewash tombstones, and it's like he knew they were dirty on the inside, but they were like nice and clean on the outside. But they were judging them based on their human law. Like we like, well, I won't go too much into it because I'm not a historical expert, but it's like back then the Pharisees had like so many laws, and they called them like Mosaic laws. And to be fair, like a lot of them were like laws from the Old Testament, but they took it to such a level where it was like impossible for people to follow. So they would like wear the texts and they would brag about being holier than thou. but it's like all they were doing was like judging other people. They weren't trying to save other people. And the worst part is they weaponized it. They used it in a way where it made it look like they were respecting God, or they were doing things for God. But no, they were just worried about their own status. They were worried about like who got to sit at the front of the table. But in reality, like Jesus was saying, no, you should give up your seats at the head of the table for other people. You should let other people stand before you. The first will be last, the last will be first. Like Jesus showed a humbleness in a way where he was saying like you don't worry about your status. You don't worry about what other people are doing. It's like that's something my brother-in-law. It's so fascinating seeing my sister and her brother-in-law raise their daughters, because my nieces, like they're very worried about other people. Like, oh, are they allowed to do that? For them, it's very black and white. You either do this or you're doing wrong. They they're very positive that certain people are going to hell. I'm not saying who they think is going to hell, but they're very sure about what they're thinking, and they like bring it up to their parents and like, oh, did you see like what this guy is doing? And my brother-in-law is like, only worry about yourselves. Like, and he's talked about like how he approaches being a father, of like he's only worried about like the salvation of people in his household, then he works out from there. But first things first, you're only worried about yourself. Like, why would you worry about other strangers unless they're hurting themselves, unless they're on a bridge about to jump? Then yeah, you should worry about them. But it's like, why are you worrying about like what other people are doing? And again, we've said like it could be from a place of hurt. Like it could be, just because you rectify the surface problem doesn't mean like the inward problem has been solved. Like just because you yell or preach at someone on the side of the street doesn't mean like it's going to be fixed right away. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Going all the way back. Like, why are we worrying about judging other people? That's God's job.
Yeah.
Like that verse, I do like that verse. That doesn't mean like we don't help rectify people. But it's like you build a relationship first. You don't A verse I like is people want to know how much you care before they care how much you know. If they just see you on the street, they're not going to know if you care at all. You probably don't care about them at all. They're just some rando on the street. But if you're like saying, oh, you're dishonoring God, let God worry about that. God can take care of it. Don't worry about it. And it's like the same thing. It's like how we judge others really is going to be how we are judged.
Mm. Justin, how much time you got, man? You got like 30 more minutes?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
All right, I'm gonna end this video. We're gonna just start back, man. I'm gonna start off with this quote right here, and we're gonna end this video in another video. So, all right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, you guys know the drill. Me and Justin, we work really hard on our social media pages, so make sure to support us on them. So, like I showed you guys at the very beginning of the video, here go. I'm on social media platforms. Make sure to add me on Threads, and everybody pray that the Instagram police on Trouble Don't Last and all my Instagram pages. I got a few. Hopefully they don't come for me, man, because like they just logged me out of my Trouble Don't Last page, and I logged back in, and all my drafts. I had 260 posts ready to post for you guys. They got rid of it, but it's okay. I got 4 more pages. I just hope they don't do that with my other Instagram pages, and I got to start from scratch. But y'all just pray about that. All right, and so yeah, here goes my YouTube page. Like I always tell you guys, I got a lot of playlists on here. Me and Justin do a lot of videos. So if you want to see even more videos that me and Justin have done, I have a playlist, with him right here, Justin Lee Howell. So check out all the videos we've done together on our podcast and stuff like that. And
Watch the sermonette that he posted just
oh
this week.
yeah,
Really good.
yeah, my sermonette's right here, guys. It's only 9 minutes, like 9 minutes and 41 seconds, but my sermonette was like 7 minutes and 44 seconds. It's just people talking, like to advertise my YouTube channel stuff. But yeah, guys, like check out that video, man. Like I'm gonna be coming with more and more short content soon, all the time. Just get ready for that. Just pray for me. All right. And check out this playlist if you really enjoyed just the topic of no condemnation. There's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. This playlist will be hitting that a lot. And then Romans 8, Me and Justin will be doing a lot on Romans 8 in the book of Romans as well. There's also another playlist on the book of Romans as well. And then Justin's YouTube channel again, Chaplain's Logs. Subscribe to his YouTube channel and mine, and make sure to click the bell after you subscribe so you get a notified anytime we upload another video. Make sure to like, comment, and share, and watch all the videos all the way through. If you don't do those things, our pages will not grow. And this is his Facebook page, Justin Lee Howell. So make sure to befriend him on there. This is his beautiful wife right here. This was a great time at his wedding. Yep, we had a great time. All right, guys, we're about to hit you guys with another video. All right, thanks for tuning in. You guys rock. Justin, you good?
Yep.
All right.
Stay blessed.
We'll talk to you guys in a minute. Peace out.